Every year, 6% of Bahamian
children are born with a heart defect.
We at Cable 12
and the Nassau Guardian decided
to lend a helping hand
in creating more awareness to the cost of saving little hearts.
One surgery
can cost up to
$250,000.
We at Cable 12
and the Nassau Guardian
hear their cry.
We are asking you
to make a donation to these efforts.
Embrace the opportunity
and save a little heart.
Good evening, Bahamas. It's Monday, February 25th, 2013, and this is NB12. Coming up tonight in news, the Prime Minister reveals government is set to borrow another $100 million before the end of the fiscal year. The opposition surprised and concerned about mid-year budget developments. 5 men arraigned on housebreaking charges, and the Senate may be obsolete, according to the Chief Clerk of Parliament. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. I'm Christina McNeil, and NB12 starts right now. Joining us. Months after government received authorization to borrow $550 million, officials are now seeking Parliament's approval to borrow more money. Government advisor James Smith predicted last month that government would have to borrow an additional $100 to $150 million. However, Prime Minister Perry Christie refused to confirm that report until now. Despite current financial challenges, he announced there would be no new taxes, insisting that the Christie administration has found ways to bring in more revenue. Vonique Toot reports.
Government will seek authorization from Parliament to borrow $100 million in additional funding. During his mid-year budget statement, Prime Minister Perry Christie said that money is desperately needed to take care of carryover expenditures from the period 2011-2012.
This $100 million expenditure included the following obligations. So unpaid checks and wire transfers, $63.14 million. Secondly, with respect to the 52-week job program, $23 million to be paid. And Teachers Public Service Union lump sum payments of $10.86 million.
Last year, government received approval to borrow $550 million to cover its deficit for the 2012-2013 fiscal year. Christie warned of the dangers of continued borrowing.
We face the prospects of higher rates of interest on any future borrowings at a time when our annual interest expenses already exceed $200 million and consume roughly $1 out of every $7 we earn, 1 out of every 7 revenue dollars. That is money that is simply siphoned away from the valuable programs and services that the government could be providing to the public each and every year.
Even as government seeks to borrow more money, the Prime Minister says there will be no tax increases. He's hoping to deliver more revenue through the reduction of excise duty on trucks from 85% to 65%, as well as a new amnesty program which takes effect on March 1st. The aim is to encourage property owners to make payments.
Owners of residential properties above the $250,000 exemption threshold and owners of commercial properties who have never received a property tax bill will be encouraged to register their properties with the Chief Valuation Officer by June 30th, 2013. For these registrants, the government will waive all back taxes, if any.
Government also plans to waive 50% of the total owed by property owners with no more than 3 years of payment arrears. That's if they pay by June 30th. For those more than 3 years behind on their payments, government will waive surcharges if payment is made by December 31st. Prime Minister Christie says efforts are also being made to control spending in the public sector by restructuring the Ministry of Finance. However, State Minister for Finance Michael Halkidis says he does not foresee any layoffs.
The government has already asked subsidy-dependent corporations to better align their expenditure plans with the resources that are available from the government.
And we specifically said that your proposal should not include any reduction in headcount.
Despite current financial challenges, the Prime Minister says he is optimistic about the future and is confident in his government's ability to return public finances to what he called the more sustainable position. He predicted a return to surpluses by the 2015-2016 fiscal period. The budget debate begins on March 4th. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonik Tood.
Well, Hutchinson Whampoa and the Sunwing Group have agreed on the terms of a lease, scope of work, and renovation costs to convert the 400-room Reef Village in Grand Bahama into a 5-star Blue Diamond resort. Prime Minister Christie says the major initiative to revive Grand Bahama's economy follows negotiations for a memorandum of understanding with government, Hutchinson Whampoa, and Sunwing. Government estimates that over 1,000 permanent jobs and up to 300 construction jobs will be created as a result of this deal.
Combined hotel, airlift, and tour operations of Sunwing and its affiliate Blue Diamond Resorts will create over 1,000 new jobs in Grand Bahama. In the coming weeks, Mr. Speaker, construction will get underway, providing several hundred much-needed jobs for contractors and construction workers. It is anticipated that the construction and refurbishment will be completed for the opening of the Blue Diamond Resort later this year.
Surprised and concerned. That's how opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says members of the Free National Movement feel after hearing the Prime Minister's budget communication.
They were always blaming us for overspending, etc. When they came into office, the very first thing they did was went wild about hiring their friends and family members. They hired extra consultants, elderly individuals who had already retired, they brought back. They were not looking after the young people. They hired many retirees. They hired many individuals in BEC. They hired extra staff in National Insurance. They hired extra staff in ZNS. When we had gone through a process of right-sizing, they came behind us and wrong size.
Dr. Minnis says upon taking office, the Christie administration went on a hiring spree, an act he says wrong-sized many government corporations. As this mid-year budget is presented, Minnis says the people have a right to know how much money government spent on new hires since coming into office and how much was spent on new contracts awarded since the May 2012 general election. Dr. Minnis also made note of government's comments regarding $100 million it inherited in unpaid bills. Dr. Minnis says under the Ingram administration, every loan was brought to Parliament and members voted on them. He says if the PLP did its job while in opposition and was actually ready to govern on day one, it would have expected outstanding bills. In responding to the mid-year budget communication, Dr. Minnis also pointed out something that was obviously missing.
Crime. They did not say much about the crime when Bahamians are being robbed repeatedly, traumatized in their homes, still individuals are being shot, murder rate is still going up. And not only that, we had shootout even on Bay Street, where all of our tourists travels regularly. This can have great impact on the economy of the country.
He added that Bahamians were sold dreams on the campaign trail in the run-up to the general election, and those dreams are still being sold today. He says the Bahamian people need to know the government's plans moving forward, especially when it comes to the College of the Bahamas and tertiary education, which can lead to job creation. This as Dr. Minnis says he was pleased to hear that jobs are reportedly on the way for Grand Bahama.
I'm happy to hear that the government announced that there would be about 1,000 jobs in Grand Bahama. If this is true, I'm very, very happy for Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama deserves it. Grand Bahama has suffered long enough. They announced during their campaign and even afterward that they would create so many jobs. And in fact, they had promised the Bahamas that they would create 10,000 jobs immediately. We have over 5,000 students coming out of school very, very soon. They would need jobs. The government said nothing about that.
For too long, Dr. Minnis says the PLP has blamed the FNM for the country's fiscal position, but now that the PLP is in government, it is acknowledging the state of other struggling economies around the world. A 19-year-old man is dead and a 23-year-old woman is recovering in hospital after a double shooting early this morning. According to police, the pair was in the parking lot of a business on Wolf Road shortly after 4 a.m. when shots were fired. Reports are the woman was shot in the thigh while the man was shot multiple times about the body. The 19-year-old, believed to be a Wolf Road resident, succumbed to his injuries. It is believed that the man survived a shooting at the Ballers nightclub last year. The 23-year-old woman of Bacardi Road is detained in stable condition. Police are asking anyone with information related to this double shooting to contact police at 919 or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. 5 men believed to be part of a housebreaking ring were today arraigned on housebreaking, stealing, and receiving charges before Deputy Chief Magistrate Carolito Bethel. 21-year-old Keno Cunningham, seen in the orange shirt, 28-year-old Frederick Taylor in the brown plaid shirt, 31-year-old Joycelyn Emmanuel, seen in the tan suit, 41-year-old Dwight Kennedy in the dark purple shirt, and 32-year-old Carlton Taylor in the light purple shirt are the men police say are part of a housebreaking ring busted last week. The men were arraigned on multiple charges of housebreaking, stealing, and receiving a host of items, mainly electronics, from homes and cars between January and February. On Friday, police displayed some of the confiscated items worth thousands of dollars, including 15 laptops, 7 flat-screen televisions, digital cameras, cellular phones, mobile chargers, external hard drives, game consoles, and flash drives. At that time, police had 35 people in custody, prolific offenders who they say were wanted for housebreakings and stealing. Today, all men pleaded not guilty to the charges and elected to have their matters heard in a magistrate's court. Keno Cunningham, in the orange shirt, is facing multiple housebreaking charges on 5 different dockets. He told Magistrate Carolito Bethel that he was beaten while in police custody. Cunningham used a white paper towel to blot the blood from his right elbow as the charges were read to him. Attorney Chevron Gay represented Cunningham and Carlton Taylor. The remaining defendants were unrepresented. All men were remanded to Her Majesty's Prison until the matters continue in Court Number 5 tomorrow morning. That's when a magistrate will set a date for trial and consider bail.